full Tucker hour. I'm just saying, I'm advocating for Tucker fans, including myself.
I appreciate that.
All right, Tucker, thank you. Welcome to Hannity. Breaking tonight, just hours ago, President Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, they held what is now described as a thorough, productive meeting in the Oval Office, where they reflected on all the good that they have accomplished for this country as a team over the last 4 years. We have a lot more on this meeting coming up tonight. Also, tonight, no surprise, as Nancy Pelosi plotting yet another impeachment charade and shift show. Since the day that Donald Trump was elected, Democrats, the mob, the media, they have pushed this regularly. Why change now with only 9 days left in the president's term, and in less than 2 hours, it'll be 8 days. This has been and remains dangerous, unprecedented territory, including the lies, the Russia hoax, the conspiracy theories, the flagrant hypocrisy, breathtaking hypocrisy on Ukraine, and the damage that they have already caused the country over 4 years that nobody else seems to ever want to talk about. On this program, we have exposed what is massive institutional corruption in the Democratic Party, the media mob, big tech companies, and we'll go into great detail on all of that tonight, because now we have large corporations. They're now trying to halt all donations to several top Republicans, just mentioning a desire for a 10-day investigation is what I guess this has all come down to in their minds, an audit, if you will. Now, meanwhile, big tech is now attempting to successfully and completely silence, shut down, make disappear conservative speech on even their own platforms. And now other tech giants, they want to eliminate even conservatives' ability to completely have a free speech platform like Parler, which is an alternative to Twitter, which is abusively biased. The same social media giants banned the President of the United States forever, permanent ban. Many of his supporters also from using their platforms. These are scary times. Shadow banning, erasing all conservative thought, all conservative opinion. These are dangerous and chilling times. In all the years I've been doing radio, 33 years, 25 years at Fox, I've been called the worst names imaginable, the worst posts I've seen imaginable, a lot of lies told about me. Not one time would I ever want anyone to be silenced in expressing even their hatred of me. It never even dawned on me. I thought liberals were champions of free speech. Apparently not. A media mob is cheering them on every step of the way. And tonight we can see America's powerful institutions do not want unity. They want complete submission to their point of view. It's dangerous, make no mistake. It includes those who vowed to hang Vice President Pence for certifying the election. A lot of smart constitutional conservatives, even the great one, great friend of this program, great personal friend, pointed out that, in his view, Pence didn't have the authority. This was largely a ceremonial role. Meanwhile, good people, different points of view, others disagreed. And I can say the kind of rhetoric which was trending on Twitter yesterday, trending, is beyond dangerous. Why didn't they silence those people? But good, honest people can have honest disagreements. Mike Pence has been a loyal, dedicated vice president for years. I'm glad that he and the president, again, working together. They've had 4 amazing years serving this country. And today they had this productive meeting at the White House. They reflected on their historical record achievements, vowed to hold last week's violent rioters accountable. They agreed on all of it. President Reagan once said, "The person that agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor." Reagan said that. It's an important principle to remember. As banning President Trump from Twitter, this is only the tip of the iceberg. We have long known that nearly every massive tech company is wrought with bias, abusively biased. And also, look at this. Money does talk, right? According to a recent report, employees at the major tech firms, they donated 20 times more money to the Biden campaign than the Trump campaign. In fact, 95% of all political donations from 6 major tech companies, they were for the Democrats. In one example, Google employees donated a whopping $4.3 million to Biden compared to $106,000 to Donald Trump. But the biggest donation of all, that came in the form of censorship. You cannot calculate a monetary value on this. In the weeks leading up to the election, Twitter, Facebook, and a lot of these companies, they tried to banish not let you see what turned out to be accurate report from the New York Post about the salacious materials on Hunter Biden's laptop. And by the way, Democrats, the media mob, big tech, buckle up. You've been warned. I have numerous credible sources telling me the contents of this laptop will be devastating to the Bidens and the Democrats. I am told it is beyond that bad. So we will see in the months ahead where all these groups stand on issues like law and order, impeachment, and, oh, who knows, maybe even the 25th Amendment. And, of course, we all know that Hunter Biden is under a federal investigation for this international money laundering and tax evasion. We also have credible reports Joe Biden himself was keenly aware of his son's pay-for-play schemes, this foreign policy Biden family syndicate. And get this, Hunter's laptop is now being used as evidence in the case. He's been told he's a target. Again, contents, I am told, could shock the soul of a nation. Time will tell. In November, Twitter, Facebook, they didn't want any of you to see this very important story, so you can decide for yourself. Worst of all, the so-called free speech champions in the media mob gleefully applaud the censorship. These so-called journalists are now giddy, beyond giddy, that the president is permanently banned from Twitter. As Glenn Greenwald put out, he said, tech monopolies, Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, have more concentrated wealth and power than any in history. They have used brute force 3 times in 3 months to manipulate U.S. politics, censoring the New York Post, banning Trump, now destroying Parler. And liberals are overwhelmingly supportive. Even the ACLU, which they kind of hate President Trump, to their credit, are speaking out. A statement from a senior counsel reads, quote, it should concern everyone when companies like Facebook, Twitter, wield the unchecked power to remove people from platforms that have become indispensable for the speech of billions, especially when political realities make those decisions easier. Traditionally, American liberals, I thought, they once believed in the free and open exchange of ideas and opinions. Sadly, no longer the case. The left wants to silence any and all dissent. In their twisted worldview, they are the only arbiters of truth, which is, we all know, beyond laughable. After 5 years of outright lies, conspiracy theories, hoaxes, malignant vitriol on their part, their credibility is an all-time low. We will play example after example. For example, summer's violence was just a myth. What you saw with your own eyes wasn't true. It was a myth, according to him. Pelosi herself wasn't interested in condemning the far-left riots. Remember, people just do what they're going to do. Wow. Take a look.
Respectfully, shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do. I do think that from a safety standpoint, it would be a good idea to have it taken down if the community doesn't want it. I don't know that it has to be a commission.
And maybe even worst of all was Kamala Harris, who, that Kamala Harris seemingly praising this summer's chaos. This is her in her own words. You decide.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Trump behind a gym. Good luck, Joe. Take a look.
Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish. I did make a mistake, but they asked me, would I like to debate this gentleman? And I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I wonder if some conservatives say we're going to take the Joe Biden behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. Kamala Harris openly joked about violence against the Trump administration. Take a look at this beauty. She also supported defunding the LAPD. She also helped raise bail money for rioters in Minneapolis. Kamala Harris might be laughing. Nothing funny about the left's never-ending, completely unhinged anti-Trump vitriol. It's gone on for 4 straight never-ending years. Here's a reminder.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
You're in the arena, you got to be ready to take a punch. You got to be ready to throw a punch for the children.
It was even worse among their big supporters, peace-loving liberals in Hollywood. Take a look.
How dare he say the things he does? Of course I want to punch him in the face.
Right.
The psychotic rage was even worse on Twitter. A few weeks ago, Deborah Messing actually hoping the president would be raped in prison. It's clear these people never accepted the results of the 2016 election, and the double standard is nauseating. Even before Donald Trump was sworn in, they were plotting his impeachment. Take a look.
If he takes the risk of going to trial and he's convicted, that could be seen as an impeachable offense.
If Trump were caught on a video camera snorting cocaine in the White House, maybe with one of his children, there was at least a chance he'd be impeached.
There are tools that Congress has.
Impeachable offense.
Impeachable.
Impeachable offense.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
All of that may be impeachable.
That's an impeachable offense.
Impeachable offense.
Impeachable offense.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachable offense. Grounds for impeachment.
Impeachable. Grounds for impeachment.
Impeachment.
An impeachable offense.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachable.
Impeachable.
If that's not impeachable, I don't know what is.
The president shall be removed from office on impeachment.
Is it impeachable?
Guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors.
Grounds for impeachment.
Talk of impeachment.
None of us came to Congress to impeach a president, but now we have to do our duty.
I can keep going all night. Same people want us to trust them. They want you to believe and unite behind Joe Biden, even as they plot yet another bogus impeachment, not caring at all what impact it has on the country. They want us to just forget about their Russia lies, conspiracy theories, and a hoax. The Ukraine impeachment, double standard, breathtaking hypocrisy and hoax there. The cover-up of Joe Biden, quid pro quo Joe, and zero experience Hunter. And, of course, Russian oligarchs and Kazakhstan oligarchs and Chinese national shopping sprees. And they want to censor the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. They don't want you to read it. Do they just, do they think we're just going to forget the last, 4.5 years and how they have behaved and now get lectured by them? Ultimately, the left doesn't really care about we, the people, and what we believe. Now, they're actively working to silence your voices. As we have long warned, this new radical extreme Democratic Party cares very little about liberty and freedom. For them, power is the only thing that matters. Here now, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth, along with Fox News contributor, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee with us. Governor, we'll start with you. I honestly can spend hours playing it all. I'm just giving a tip of the iceberg here, and it seems like I don't know, they've compartmentalized in their minds what they do is righteous because it's against Trump. But anything Trump does or doesn't even do, it's, they go for complete silencing now.
Sean, listening to all that, it just gives me this warm, fuzzy feeling and reminds me of how we're so close to unity now that Joe Biden's about to be sworn in. Heck, we'll all be sitting around the Waffle House over a big order of hash browns, sharing a cup of coffee and talking about good times.
And it's got to be scattered and smothered. Sorry.
And covered and capped and peppered. Now, the sad thing about what you've just played is that it shows that the media is oblivious, totally oblivious to the things that have been said toward 75 million or so Americans who really don't care that much about hurting anybody. In fact, don't want to put anybody out of business, just want to live our lives, be left alone. But this kind of atmosphere we're seeing, they're not just about yelling and screaming at us and condescending to us and treating us like dupes. They hate us enough, they want to put us all out of business and make us go away. That's not America. And that's what I find so very depressing about this. When you've got the ACLU and Angela Merkel and other people around the world who recognize the danger of shutting out the voices that you don't agree with, and the liberals still can't see it in this country, it's disconcerting.
Pete, all of us, Governor Huckabee, you have, I have, I'm 33 years doing this, 25 at Fox. I've been pretty much called every name in the book. Now, I signed up. I give political commentary, part of being a talk show host. We do reporting, investigative reporting. I give opinions. Some people don't like it. That's fine. I can't make people watch this show, although No, I wouldn't make them. I want them to. I invite them into to join us every night.
Sure.
And I never want. It would never cross my mind to say, "Don't say that about me." Say it. I can handle it.
Well, because you understand free speech. First of all, when it comes to the waffle house, smothered, covered, diced, chunked, and peppered is the way to go. Okay, anybody who's been there, you got to get it right for 100%. But what I will say is, because you believe in free speech, you understand that the antidote to bad speech is more speech that ultimately resolves the conversation by not shutting people down. I've been following some of these lists, these newsletters from Axios, Politico, and others who are leftists, but they're covering what's happening in Washington. And before the election, there was no conversation about the amount of power the left has. But after the certification of the election, after Georgia, they're all talking about how the fact that from the media to tech to business to every quarter to now politics, the left controls everything, and they're moving on complete consolidation of that. They acknowledge this is the consolidation moment, the purging of the Trump voice. They use every rationale, every justification. They're not even pretending like it doesn't exist. 1984 is a real thing, and it's not just the government being used. That's what everyone thinks Orwell was talking about. No, it's the moral authoritarianism with woke in corporate culture. It's the technological authoritarianism, which is what we're seeing in tech. And then it's the corporate authoritarianism. It's the groupthink of corporations who shut people down. And with the Biden-Harris administration, what we've heard from her, they're going to allow that to happen, which makes everyone who voted for the president fearful for their own voice, because they know if they can do it to Donald Trump, it will be done to them. And it has the backlash effect of not creating unity, because they've never really wanted unity, of creating an environment where everyone says, if I don't fight now for my own freedom, when will I?
You know, Governor, if you go back to the summer and Joe Biden, police become the enemy and need support reallocating funds, the silence of the violence that we all saw from the media, from Kamala Harris, from Joe Biden, Kamala Harris saying they're not going to stop. Beware. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November. They're not going to stop after Election Day. Everyone should take note of that on both levels. And they're not going to let up. They should not let up, and we should not either. How do you deny what we all witnessed with our own eyes that the media said? I love the reports on fake news, CNN and MSDNC. There's like fires raging in the background. It's a mostly peaceful protest, mostly peaceful. You can't make this up.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, who are you going to believe, the truth or your lying eyes? I don't understand why no one's calling for the impeachment of Kamala Harris. She was the one who actually raised money to get rioters and looters out of jail so they could get right back to the riot and to the looting. Isn't that an incitement of violence? And that's what they're accusing the president of. But I hope people understand this really isn't about Donald Trump. It's about all of the people who supported him, who liked what he did as president, may not always agreed with some of the things he said or the way he said them. But if really liberals believe in their own point of view, what they should want is, let's meet out in the center of the arena and let's put both ideas out there and let the crowds decide. If I'm confident of my view, I want the other views to come to the forefront. Let's put them to the test and let's see. That's what we ought to be talking about.
All right. Pete Hegseth, Mike Huckabee, thank you both for joining us tonight. Also tonight, Parler, which is an alternative to Twitter, is taking legal action against Amazon. They are suing for antitrust violations and for breach of contract. This is a big deal. Joining us when we come back, Parler's Chief Policy Officer, Amy Peikoff, and much more. All right, joining us now, Parler Chief Policy Officer, Amy Peikoff is with us. Amy, thank you for being with us. I think it's very important to establish here that Parler has standards. There are things that you will not allow people to post that are dangerous, for example. Can you tell us what some of them are?
Well, certainly. So in our guidelines, we say that we will not knowingly allow people to use our platform as a tool to commit crimes. And moreover, the type of content that you were playing for your audience earlier in this show, all of these incitements to violence or glorification of violence are things that we expressly prohibit in our community guidelines. And why do we do that? It's because it is against our mission. Our mission is to provide a platform that fosters and allows the type of productive discussions that you were talking about in your last segment, where you have people of differing viewpoints who actually put them to the test by engaging in discussion with each other. That has always been our goal. And if you've got a lot of incitement to violence and threats and everything in there, that stops all discussion. It stops thinking, which is the basis of productive discussion. So of course we don't want that on our platform.
Now, when these big tech companies prevent, Apple won't allow people to download your app, for example, or Amazon or Google or all these companies now, what is the impact? In other words, Parler is now down. You guys, for temporarily, and it's temporary, I understand it,
Yes.
are out of business. Now, is there the technology available that you can bypass the App Store and all these other platforms, big tech giants, and then still provide for people a true form for, look, I'm sure if I look through Parler, there's people that hate my guts. There's people all over Twitter that hate my guts. I've read it, I've seen it. But I don't want to live in a country where people can't say it. You know, I'd rather attack me all you want. Actually, some of the memes are pretty darn funny, make me laugh. I hate to admit it, they're funny. And but I prefer freedom.
Yes, yes. And, you know, there is a difference, of course, between so-called hate speech that would otherwise be protected by the First Amendment and speech that incites violence or threatens, which is not protected by the First Amendment. So, of course, we want to remove it. And so we agree with Apple and Amazon that it is desirable to remove it. What we disagreed about was whether the first resort, and especially it wouldn't be any resort for us in a normal situation, would be to subject people to 24/7 surveillance, to doing all of the data mining that the other platforms do. That was not part of our monetization model. We think surveillance is contrary to the spirit of the Fourth Amendment. If you have particularized suspicion about somebody, that's when you surveil. That's when you get information about them, have a search warrant, et cetera. So on Parler, our disagreement was that we did not want to put in an algorithm that would subject everybody on the entire platform to 24/7 surveillance. We wanted to handle this content in a way that respected the privacy of people. And that's where we're disagreeing now. The tech giants want their model to be the standard for the entire internet. And to us, we think that that takes Orwell's 1984 from a dystopian novel and turns it into an instruction manual for everybody to follow.
So you'll be able to bypass it. Will it be as easy, or does it create a great challenge for you to have people available to go to Parler, or does it really prevent Parler from breaking out to the extent they can? And quickly, how do you see this lawsuit coming down?
Well, I can't comment, of course, on the lawsuit, but as to what we've been doing is, you know, getting ourselves back online. Apple and Amazon both decided on Friday afternoon to announce that they were very imminently going to leave us. That left us in the lurch, but it also caused other vendors that provided different aspects of the infrastructure to also abandon us. And so we've had to put pieces of this puzzle back together again. We're working very, consistently to do that, and we think we're going to be able to do it soon. But it is a struggle, and it's pretty amazing these days how difficult it can be to try to compete in this market. We do think that this content was everywhere on the internet. You talked about Twitter earlier, the hang Mike Pence and everything. It's ironic, Amazon hosts Twitter as well. And so we figure, why is it that the content that's on our platform is the problem when there's probably more of it even on their platform proportionally because of the scale?
Amy, thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Now, House Republicans earlier today, they block efforts by Democrats to quickly jam through a bill calling on Vice President Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. In a letter tonight to fellow Republicans, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy told the conference, "I continue to believe that an impeachment at this time would have the opposite effect of bringing our country together when we need to get America back on a path towards civility and unity." Here with reaction, author of the bestseller Firebrand, appropriately titled, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, along with Congressman Jim Jordan, who earlier today received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our nation's highest civilian honor. You may have a bestseller, Mr. Gaetz. He's got the Medal of Freedom. I don't know. I think he did better, but I appreciate
well deserved.
Thank you. Let's look at this from a legal standpoint. Jim Jordan, I'll start with you. If you're going to silence some voices and not others, is it an in-kind donation if you are inhibiting legitimate content in the lead up to an election? Because I got to believe that's a lot of money that you're basically contributing to one candidate.
Sean, you would think it would be. In fact, the first person to raise that argument was Matt Gaetz 2 years ago when Mark Meadows, Devin Nunes, and Matt and I got shadow banned. So I think it's a very strong argument. Matt raised that a couple years ago. Here's what I think is going on, Sean. We've talked about for the whole 3 years of the Russian investigation, we said, you know, if they can do it to a president, imagine what they can do to you and I. Well, now it's transformed into if they can cancel a president with the second impeachment and what they've done to the president with the social media platforms, if they can cancel a president, imagine what they can do to the 75 million people who supported President Trump in this election. That's what's so dangerous. So, yeah, there's the in-kind concern, the political concern, but I'm more concerned just about the First Amendment, which you highlighted and been talking about. That's what really scares me.
You know, for those like yourself, Matt, that talked about an audit or raised issues specifically about legal issues, the constitutional issues, consent agreements, the attempt to silence voices are real. Now they're even talking about, you know, censure. And I see your name has come up. I'm not sure exactly what it is about. Can you tell us?
I think the Democrats have been wanting to censure me since about my first day here, Sean. But, you know, we heard from these Silicon Valley companies.
I have to agree with that. That's probably true, right, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier for me to count the days when the Democrats don't want to censure me than the days otherwise. But, you know, we heard from these Silicon Valley companies that they were going to do good and make the world a better place. The reality is that deep inside the chest cavity of every digital woke-topian beats the heart of an online tyrant. You know, these people want to be able to control what we see and how we behave, and to constrain speech in this way, I think is very damaging to the country. This impeachment that we're dealing with this week is not a thoughtful exercise. It's not to protect democracy. It is impeachment by reflex, because the Democrats have figured out that they actually have no message to the country except that they don't like President Trump. Well, Jim Jordan and I are here at the Capitol. We are going to fight hard for this president like he has fought so hard for the American people, and one of the greatest presidencies we'll ever encounter.
Last
Sean,
word,
this impeachment's nothing new. Remember, on January 20th, 2017, 19 minutes into the Trump administration, the Washington Post headline was, "Impeachment now begins." That happened 19 minutes into it. They've never stopped. We need to make the argument for why it's so wrong and not going to unify our country.
All right, we're going to watch all of this carefully. Thank you both for being with us. We appreciate it. When we come back, we'll look at the legal arguments surrounding, quote, impeachment with 8 days to go. Alan Dershowitz, Greg Jarrett explain why the Democrats doing this would be extraordinarily dangerous to our country and our Constitution. Straight ahead. As we reported earlier, House Democrats are now trudging ahead with yet another shift show on Capitol Hill. Yes, planning to drag the country through yet another impeachment, and by midnight it'll only be 8 days in the Trump presidency, based on more baseless accusations against the president, insurrection this time. Ask yourself, what would be the point of another show trial designed to further tear the country apart? As legal scholar and liberal, by the way, Jonathan Turley points out, Democrats' latest impeachment obsession is, quote, an impulse buy that goes against the grains of the Constitution. Take a look.
First of all, the very concept of a snap impeachment runs against the grain of the Constitution. This was supposed to be a deliberative, not an impulsive process. You're creating a pathway for this type of impulse buy impeachment. And that's what we're talking about here. There's a desire not to have that inquiry or that hearing, to look at the implications of what they're going to do. But it's a type of vicarious impeachment in the sense that he doesn't call for violence in the speech. He, in fact, tells his followers to be peaceful. He says the reason they should go to the Capitol is to support members who are challenging the election and to encourage other members to join them. So the speech itself would not meet any definition as a criminal matter of incitement.
And as Harvard attorney and Professor Alan Dershowitz, he's taken it a step further, calling it, quote, a loaded weapon that would be so dangerous to our Constitution. Here with reaction, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, along with lawyer, Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor, you said that you pointed out a couple of things. It would be so dangerous to the Constitution, and you said that the Senate wouldn't even ever be able to hear a trial because the president will be out of office at the time. And then you further went on to say those saying, well, we'll do it after he leaves. No, that's not constitutional either.
Well, here's the tactic. What the Democrats want to do is simply impeach him. They can do that. All you need is to have the votes, the majority. And Hamilton warned against impeachment by simply having the majority. But they don't want to actually bring him to trial. They just want to have the accusation hanging over him. It would be like a prosecutor indicting somebody for a serious crime and then saying, but we're not going to give you a trial where you can prove your innocence. Some Democrats are saying, well, we'll give him a trial, but only after he's left office. But there's no jurisdiction. Congress doesn't have the power to try anybody unless they're in office. The Constitution talks about impeachment as being a mechanism for removing somebody from office. It also says if you remove him from office, then you can disqualify him further. But you can't just have a trial designed to disqualify him from running in 2024. If they could do that, then, Sean, they could haul you in front of the Senate and impeach you, even though you're a private citizen, because you could run for president in 2024. And if they want to stop you from running, all I have to do is impeach you. It is a bizarre interpretation of the Constitution.
You just scared half the country to death at the thought that I would ever run for anything, including dog catcher.
Well, I want to scare them about the Constitution because this challenges the First Amendment. It challenges the impeachment cause. It's dangerous to America.
You know, let me go back to what Alan Dershowitz is saying, Greg Jarrett. And I really paid very close attention, by the way, to what Jonathan Turley also said. And he's called it a snap impeachment, was a total contradiction in constitutional terms because our framers meant this to be deliberative, not an impulsive act. Framers made it very difficult. And he had comments on the 25th Amendment, but just to get you to respond and your thoughts on it all.
Well, Professor Turley is absolutely right. Democrats are treating impeachment like it's instant coffee or instant rice. No, it's supposed to be careful and determined and deliberative, but they've abandoned their own rules, which require fundamental rights of due process. There must be a hearing, a presentation of evidence, the right to counsel, the right to a defense. They don't care about any of that, nor do they care about the facts. The president did not commit an impeachable offense, not remotely so, nor does his conduct or words meet the legal definition of inciting violence. Look at what the president actually said. You can watch it on YouTube, read a transcript. Quote, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Keep listening to what the president said. Nowhere did he advocate acts of violence or destruction of property. He did not direct or encourage the protesters to breach security, attack police officers, threaten lawmakers, commit acts of looting and vandalism, rioting. He didn't do any of that. You know, there's a difference, Sean, between advocating a public protest and inciting violence. And if it were otherwise, then hundreds of members of Congress, not to mention the media, would be behind bars. They cheered on and applauded the racial injustice protests over the summer that devolved into mayhem and violence and millions of dollars in destruction of property.
Real quick, Professor, the quote from the president's speech that soon you'll be marching peacefully and patriotically to make your voice heard.
This has happened 100 times in the Capitol. Labor leaders, suffragettes, civil rights leaders have all made similar speeches. Go to Congress, protest, show we have strong, fight back. That's typical. That's quintessential American political rhetoric protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. Don't destroy our Constitution to put President Trump out of office 5 or 6 days early. It's an abomination to the Constitution, and it shows enormous disrespect for the United States of America and its citizens.
Powerful commentary from both of you. Professor, thank you. Greg Jarrett, thank you. When we come back, you won't believe what Speaker Pelosi had to say. Larry and Leo weigh in. Two attorneys next.